Alright. This is me going on rants and tangents about Season 8 Smite. This is going to be a video primarily talking about mid lane, mages, and their new items and probably potential build paths. I'm just going to go over all the basic ones, talk about the ones I think everyone's going to buy, talk about the ones I think um, are going to be the best ones, and then talking about the ones I don't think anyone's ever going to buy, and theories on what will happen later down the road. So I want to talk and start off with Vampiric Shroud. This is a really expensive starter item. If you are going to go Vampiric Shroud, you are probably going to have to pick up 2 mana pots. These 2 mana pots are actually really good because at first I was really afraid about the health and mana that you get from your ability usage. It's actually really safe, actually, but you do need the mana because it has no mana regen, doesn't have MP5 or mana on this item. But for the intention of going Vampiric Shroud, a lot of people might not think it's necessary on certain mages. Vamp Shroud though is actually really good, of course, if you are going into an assassin mid or a very heavily physical team comp. Like, let's say the enemy has 4 physicals. This is a really good pickup because of the extra 15 physical protection. I'm just gonna go gloss over what gods I think will be obviously picking this up. Obviously, Anubis is the first one, of course, that always comes to mind with Vamp Shroud. But any other mages that really utilize lifesteal really well, characters like Hebo, of course, any of the auto attack mages are going to utilize this really well. Merlin is going to be someone who utilizes this really well. I've actually experimented with Thoth. Thoth uses this really well. Um, the best way I can summarize it is if you're a super glass cannon, Vamp Shroud is your go-to. If you have a really good amount of dots, it's really good, or very consistent poke damage, it's really good. And of course, if you are a mage that's really good with lifesteal in general, it is going to be very good. I know it doesn't really say much, but I'm going to go down to Blood-Soaked Shroud. This is something I think no one is going to ever pick up. I think Soaked Shroud is a terrible mid lane item. If I could rate this, I would say it's probably going to be the least picked up. I can't speak. I'm sorry. Least bought mage item. While the stats are really good, especially the 40 physical protection, that's really strong. The passive is really shit. Um, with the 1% magical lifesteal that stacks infinitely, you have to constantly be spamming an ability. So if you're Hebo, you would be constantly spamming your one, correct? But the problem where this arises is by the time you cast your second or third water cannon on someone, they're going to be dead, and you most likely will also be dead because you're constantly in the fucking fray of things. And 1% magical lifesteal for 6 seconds, like I said, is really bad because not many mages cooldowns are going to be up that fast. This is a really niche passive, and the way to fix this is either increase the cooldown on the passive or maybe increase the amount of lifesteal you get from each stack. But other than that, this is a really bad item. It's going to be very difficult to utilize this on anyone. It's just very rough. And I think Sacrificial Shroud is going to be the go-to choice for the mages I list above. You're going to be Hebo, Thoth, Merlin, Anubis. You're going to go Sacrificial Shroud. Like I said, the stats are less on the defensive, but more on the power. And with the 50% more increase on damage, it's actually really fucking insane. Someone like Scylla will have her crushes hit for 1200 without even power pots or red buffs. This is a really insane passive and an insane item for these super high burst mages. And especially with the change to Rod of Tahuti and Soul Reaver, this is going to significantly increase the potential of this item and lifesteal builds for mages just because of this one item. What you're going to see, I think, if people want to go this, is you have to. I know it sounds weird, and a lot of you might not agree, but this is to equal out how much pen you have in your mage build. Is you have to get Pythagoras Piece and Typhon's Fang. This is going to allow you to have an equal amount of percent pen topped off with Rod Tahuti. You get the 30%. And if you want to continue that, you could even get you're still against too many anti-healers, Divine is still a good option. But Deso is probably going to be the way to go. And if you want to add more percent damage onto your abilities, of course you're going to get Magus. And this is where, like I said, dot characters are really great because people like Thoth, Merlin are going to utilize Magus and this 15% more damage, significantly more. You're going to be hitting very fucking hard with this fucking item. It's insane, and I really wish people bought this way more. I think this is very underrated and needs to be utilized way more. Sands of Time is a very safe mage starter item. 800 gold, 3 power, 5 immediate, 10% cooldown reduction. It's essentially Mage's Blessing. It's very safe. Like, if you don't know the matchups that you're going into, or you don't know the comps that you're going into, or you feel like you're on a character that you don't really have much identity on, which is kind of hard to say, this is probably your safe bet. Cooldown is always a great stat to have, especially if you're on a mage, and consistently having mana regen is just safe in general. This is usually going to be, of course, your new player pickup item. This is what I think new players should stick to if they're learning mid. This is going to be their safest bet and your safest option in terms of your playstyle. Pendulum of Ages is going to be, I think, the safest item pickup for any mage that really utilizes cooldown. Obviously, a lot of people first think of Giannis when this comes to mind. You can even picture Raijin having this. I'm blanking on a lot more Smite gods. Give me one sec. People who utilize really high cooldown. Someone like Discordia is going to utilize this very well. Someone like Isis is going to utilize this very well. Someone like Hell. Someone like Ra. Someone with high amounts of mana regen. Vulcan could even potentially use this. It's just a very safe, cooldown-oriented item. Hera would love this item. Baba Yaga would love this item. Because this item also really wants you to be spam-heavy, especially with the 4 MP5 per missing mana. It's essentially, you want to stay capped at 100% mana at all times. So what you're most likely going to do with the Pendulum of Ages is you're most likely going to get the entirety of the Rada Tahuti tree. So all of those items, it's a really expensive build, but all of those items will keep you capped at 100 MP5. So you will always be at the 70, is it 70? The 70 extra power from this item. If I got my math wrong, don't judge me. I'm fucking retarded. Alright. But this is where this item lies. It's just the safest option you're ever going to go. Alternative timeline. I really wanted this to be good, but while the protections and it's just the passive being at 10 minutes is just the buzzkill for me. I really wish this was a lot better. And the fact that they're nerfing it going into live is very saddening because I never really saw anyone utilize this on PTS, which made me sad. I don't know if it was the matches I was getting into, but a lot more people were interested in Conduit Gem and Pendulum of Ages. And I hardly saw anyone get Sacrificial Shroud or anything like that. I think it's undervalued right now. Yeah, I just never saw this. Like not many people bought it. It's just this 10-minute cooldown is very, very rough. No one, like, you buy it once, you die. It's very rough. You're only going to ever utilize this like 1 or 2 times in the game. Like I'm trying to think of a situation where it's gonna be useful in fire giant fights, but at the same time, 20 like you're going back to a quarter health. You're just going to die the moment you respawn, right? This needs to be like at least 35%, with this being like a 7-minute cooldown. Like this would be the best potential like way for this item to even be wanted at all. I just kind of am sad with this item. A lot of people also, of course, immediately think of Kronos. It's probably the one thing he could use, but I don't think it would be really great. Conduit Gem is the flavor and the thing that a lot of pro players and I think mid, like high skill level players are going to really love. Essentially, this item is going to be the most picked up mage item. Not only is it an early game aggressive clear tool, but it's also significantly just more damage overall with anything that you use. This is going to be your burst mage item as well. So anyone like Scylla, Agni, Hebo, like Hebo is essentially someone who can utilize all of these items. I realize now, but anyone who's playing very aggressive and wants to have that huge burst damage is going to want Conduit Gem. It's just that simple. Archimage's Gem again is straight up just like pure burst. I think if you're going on hit as well, so someone like Newall, Soul, Agni, Discordia, any of these characters that really apply on hit very, very well is going to love Archmage's Gem. Essentially, at full build, you're going to do like an additional 300 proc if you're at the 20. If you're at the 20 stacks, an additional like 300 damage on anybody is really fucking insane. This is probably going to be the most bought item for mages. I could be wrong. A lot of my people might feel Pendulum of Ages is going to be the most buy. But I think the third best, or the third most picked up item is actually going to be Gem of Focus. It's actually very neutral is the way I would describe this. It keeps in line with wanting Archmages. But for characters like Zeus, Vulcan, Apwash, these characters that really want to move around in team fights and kite, even Thoth would love this. It's just a very neutral item because everyone always rushed to Doom Orb, and even though they nerfed it, this is essentially they just took the stats off of Doom Orb and put it on Gem of Focus. Because this is very easy to stack. Remember, you just have to throw out 3 different abilities and it lasts for 10 seconds. This is significantly easier to stack and better to utilize than this fucking item right here. I don't understand how they gave Gem of Focus a better tool passive than this thing. This is trash. I'm sorry. This in itself is really good. 9% movement speed, the 9% damage increase, and 6% damage taken reduction for a mage is very, very nice. Like I said, this is going to be your neutral pickup. This is going to bring Zeus up a bit if he buys this. This is going to bring Pwash up. This is going to bring Baron up. This is going to bring Vulcan up. All of these mages that really utilize movement speed raw would love this fucking thing. It's just a really good neutral stat item. And you compare this with Karen's Coin Doom Orb, and it would be just significantly more and better for you. Remember, there's not many mage items that give you damage increases. The only one is Sacrificial Shroud and Gem of Focus. Remember that. This does increase your damage by 9%. It's not 15, but it also is one of the more safer and better options for any mage to be playing with right now. I wish I had a little bit more insight on what people would be doing. If I could probably jot down builds for these items, I would. But the top 4 items we're going to see is probably Archmages as your best, the one that's going to be bought the most. I think it's going to be Pendulum of Ages second, then Gem of Focus third, and then Sacrificial Shroud fourth. And then every other one after that is trash and no one is ever going to buy them. They're too, I mean, it's just like 2, right? It's just 2. Yeah. But like, why would anyone buy those other 2? It's just really bad. Does this website even have a god builder? No. Let me see. Tier 3, magical power. Okay. So if we're talking about Sacrificial Shroud, I think what's going to happen is you're going to get Pythagram's Peace, Typhon's Fang, Spear of Deso, Rod of Tahuti. Am I thinking of one more thing? Essentially, the 5 items that you're going to want is Pythags, Typhons, Deso, Rod of Tahuti, and another flat pen item. It can be Divine, it could be Magus, and this is going to be like your core Sacrificial Shroud build. It's going to be high burst damage, high lifesteal sustain. It's going to be the best thing you would want on a lifesteal mage. Going back to Archmages, this is going to be, like I said, a really great on-hit build. So, of course, anything that applies on hits, Soul Reaver, Soulstone, E-Staff, Divine, anything that would affect the enemy is going to be great with Archmages. You're going to have a lot of numbers, and you're going to really love that if you love a lot of numbers. Gem of Focus, I've kind of maybe already explained this. Gem of Focus is kind of in the same boat as Pendulum of Ages, where I think maybe Pendulum of Ages gets the most flexibility out of your build path. I think Gem of Focus is really going to best fit the movement speed and Doom Orb items. So Gem of Focus would really love, like, again, you can go Spear of the Magus, Spear of Desolation, Karen's Coin, fucking Rod of Tahuti. Essentially, all you really need for Gem of Focus is Rod of Tahuti, Karen's Coin, as your percent pen options. You could still get Doom Orb for that extra movement speed and burst damage, and then you can go maybe Spear of the Magus. And then Soul Reaver. That's probably your best bet, is these 5 items. Rod Tahuti, Doom Orb, Karen's Coin, Soul Reaver, and Spear of the Magus. That's probably your best bet if you're going full burst build. I know a lot of pros aren't going to be doing this because they like prefer utility with defenses, and it's better for them to live. But if you're in ranked play or high end, I think that's your best bets. I want to talk about the Mage hunters and a hunter rant that I want to talk about. But I play mid, so this is why I wanted to make this video. Just give my thoughts out there on what I think is going to happen. I don't know. Let's see how Season 8 turns out. Let's see what people think of. Let's see what people want to do. That was it. Goodbye.